Hi, my name is Reno and welcome on Living with Pixels. Today we're gonna dive into Adobe XD. So if you're interested in learning Adobe XD, you wanna get into the world of web design, but you've never used the tool and you know that this is the right tool to create websites because it is, and then this video is for you. We're gonna create this project together. It's a very simple header image for a travel website. It's not really a complete website, but it's just to show you the basics. It has a button over here. It has a shadow in the background. It has this cool font. I'm gonna give you all the icons and the text and the fonts and the images that you're seeing over here so you can download them. So let's just get started with this project. Alright, so the first thing that you're gonna see if you open Adobe XD is this screen. I see my recent files over here because I've already created a lot of projects inside of Adobe XD. But what you're gonna do if you want to design a website is you wanna go into the custom size over here. This looks like a website, but it's not the right size for a website design. What I suggest you do is always start with 1400 by 800. If you then press enter, you're gonna get an artboard. This is your artboard and this is where we're gonna create the design. Now, let's go over the basics really quick. It's a very simple tool compared to all the other Adobe tools. So if you've worked in another Adobe tool, this will not be that hard. On the left over here, you have your selection tool. You have the rectangle, the circle, the triangle. You have the line tool, the pen tool that you maybe know from Photoshop, and of course the text tool. Over here you have the design and a prototype feature. For this video we're gonna just focus on creating the design because we're not gonna make it too complicated. And over here you have the controls. So if you click on a specific item, you can change the controls of that specific item over here. So that's actually all you need to know. You can zoom in with Command and then scroll on a Mac or on a Windows, I think it's Alt. So just zoom, or if you're on a MacBook or on a laptop, you can just use your fingers on your trackpad to zoom in, or you can use the tool over here to zoom in on a specific point on the canvas. Right now I'm going to zoom out. By the way, you move around in your artboard by holding space. So if you hold space, you can move around your artboard. So you zoom in, you press space, and then you go back to your selection tool. So if you're designing websites, you always have space on both sides because all websites have the content in the middle and then there's white space on the left and on the right. And you want to prepare that, and you're gonna prepare that with the grid option. So if you check this grid option, you're gonna see a few settings over here. I've already set mine up, so you can just copy these numbers. You need 2 columns. You need 1140 in width. That's the distance from here to here. And over here, you're gonna need 130. And if you're gonna use these numbers, you will have the perfect size for an average modern website. So this is my advice to start with. Alright, so just leave that on, click away. Alright, so now we're gonna import our first image. And I have prepared all of the things that I need for this tutorial in this folder. And you can download all of these files in the description. It's just one link. Download it onto your computer, unzip it, and then you will have the same files as me. So the first thing that I'm going to do is grab one of those images. I've just grabbed those images off unsplash.com. That's also a nice tip if you want to get into web design. Unsplash.com is a great website to get your images. If you need a photo of Amsterdam, for example, you're just gonna click on it and you can freely use these pictures because these pictures are copyright free. So that is super nice. So I've prepared these 2 images. So we're gonna go back to Adobe XD, open the Finder, and you can just drag in an image from your folder or your Explorer and just drag it in here, and then it's very big. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit and I'm gonna make it a lot smaller. You can just drag the corner over here and place it inside of your artboard. Just do it like this and then place it in the middle. You will see those blue lines which will help you align your image. Alright, I'm gonna zoom in for now. And right now I want to lock this image so I cannot move it anymore. And that is nice when you're working with a lot of things on top of this image. So I'm gonna right click and click on lock. You can also use Command L or Control L on Windows. And then we're gonna work with our first text. So we're gonna click on the text tool over here. And you're just gonna click somewhere over here. And we're gonna create a title. So for example, I'm gonna type Travel and Co. That's the logo or the company. So now we are inside of the text tool. I'm gonna click again on the selection tool, and now I can change the settings of this title over here. You can easily make a title bigger and smaller by grabbing this little circle over here. That's the easy way, but you can also just type in a number over here. So for example, 62 or another number. You can change the font or the typeface over here, and I've also prepared two fonts over here that you can install on your own computer, which I'm using in this tutorial. So I would advise you that you're gonna install these fonts before you're gonna move on, so you will have the same style as me, but of course you can also use your own fonts, doesn't really matter. So now I'm gonna change this one to Montserrat, and that's a very modern font. For this tutorial I'm gonna use the bold version. Maybe you only have the bold version, and that's okay. And now you're gonna see that it looks like this. And to make it a little bit nicer, I'm gonna change the spacing over here, and this is the space between the individual characters. So for now I'm gonna type in -40, and now look at the text. Boom. Now it looks more like a logo instead of a text. So that's all I'm gonna do for now. I'm gonna zoom out, make sure you're on the selection tool, drag it over here, resize it to a little bit smaller, something like this, and make the color white. The colors, you can change them over here. So if you click on this color, you could just pick a color over here. So for now, I'm gonna grab the white, and I'll just click outside of the artboard. Alright, and by the way, don't worry about these blue lines. You can just uncheck them over here if you want to see the full result. But right now we're using them to align all the objects. Okay, I have added this little triangle to make it look more like a logo. So I'm also going to show you how you can do that. So I'm going to go back to my design file, and I'm going to click on the text, and then I'm going to click on the rectangle. And now I'm going to drag a rectangle. And you can do all kinds of shapes, but I recommend that you use Shift, so it will always be a perfect rectangle. So if you then release it somewhere around here, first release your mouse click, and then release the shift. I'm gonna click on the selection tool, uncheck the border, so we will not have a border, and I'm gonna give it a color that is something like this. Alright, click back on the selection tool, zoom in a little bit, and align it. Okay, I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. And for this tutorial, I'm gonna leave it like this. It's not a perfect logo, but it's something, right? Okay, so now we are done with the logo. And if you want to drag the logo to another place, then you need to select both of them. So Adobe XD has a group option. So what you can do is you can click on one of them, hold Shift, and then click on the other item. So they are both selected, and then press Command G or right mouse click and then group. So Command G is create a group. And now you can just drag the logo as one piece. So right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create the bottom. So I'm gonna go back to my design. I'm gonna create this section over here. And as you can see, the 7 over here has opacity because you can see the water through the character. So that's a pretty cool effect. It's also pretty easy to do. So I'm gonna go back to my design file, and I'm gonna grab another text, click over here, I'm gonna type Command 0, and now it will remember that we were still on Montserrat, so that is nice. Click over here, make this one a lot bigger, something like this, align it to the left, and now we're gonna duplicate this one. If you press Alt and then you drag, you can make a duplicate of an item. Now make this one smaller, align it to somewhere like this, retype, so you double click it and then you can type it. So I'm gonna do something like this. Oh, of course not, it's 3 out of 7, not 7 out of 3. Okay. So now I've changed the text, and now all I need to do is click on my 7 and align it a little bit. And if the mouse doesn't work, you can also use your arrow tools on your keyboard to align it the way you like. Zoom out a little bit and now press 5. And if you press 5, the opacity over here will change. If you press 7, it will be 70%. If you press 2, it will be 20%. So now I'm gonna press 5 and it will be 50%. And now you can look through the text over here. So that looks pretty cool already. So now we're gonna create the button over here. So I'm gonna go back to my design file. I'm gonna zoom in over here. First, I'm gonna select the text tool. So click on the text tool. click over here and type something like sign up. Click on the selection tool and make this one 16. To make a button look nice, my advice is to always use 16 or 15 for the text size, otherwise it will just look a little bit cheap or your button will be too big. So 16 or 15 is always a nice size. So now I'm gonna click on the rectangle tool and I'm gonna drag a rectangle just over the canvas, something like this, and then release it. Uncheck the border. Now I want to get the same blue color as the triangle that we have created before, and Adobe XD has a new feature for this. So press space and just drag it and make sure that you can also see the triangle over here. Now press I, and if you press I, you're gonna get this eyedropper tool, this color eyedropper tool, and if you click it, then it will select that exact same color. So this is pretty nice. You can also select something like this green, for example, if you want to match your button with the scene. That's pretty nice, but for now I'm gonna just select this blue over here, zoom in again, and now I'm gonna make this a rounded rectangle. How you can do that is go back to the selection tool and easily just drag one of these in the corners and just drag it like this, and as you can see now it becomes a button. You can also do this by changing this number over here to maybe something like 100, and then it will also be rounded. So now I'm gonna place this rectangle under my text. But if I'm gonna do that, it will be above my text. And this is where you need the layers, because the layer of the text needs to be above the layer of the button background. So if you click over here, you can see a layers icon over here, and you can see all of the layers that we have created inside of this file. You can see the rectangle over here and the sign up text over here. And the rectangle need to be below our sign up text. And now we can drag it up and align it properly. Zoom out a little bit to see if it works, and the button, as you can see, is still way too small. So I'm gonna grab one of the corners, press Alt, so I can scale it on all of these sides and make it a little bit bigger, maybe even bigger, to make it look really nice. I'm gonna zoom out and this looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna zoom in again, click on the text, hold shift and click on the background. So we have selected both of them, and we're gonna group those again so we can select the whole button and align it to the right. Now, if you also want to align this button to the same height as this one, you can select both of them. So this group, hold shift, and this group, and now use this tool over here, and this will then align both items on the same line. And now we're gonna go to the social icons, because we also have some social icons over here, and these are super sharp, as you can see, much sharper than the image in the background, because these are vector icons. And for vector icons in Adobe XD, it's best to use SVG files. So I've also included a few icons for you to try inside of the downloads. In the social media icons folder, I've included a YouTube icon, Instagram, and a few other platforms. So I'm gonna go back to the exercise file. I'm gonna zoom in, click on the finder, and select a few icons that you wanna get. For now, I just wanna get Snapchat, Instagram, and YouTube. That will be enough. And I'm gonna drag them onto the canvas, and I'm gonna drag them actually outside of our artboard. So click over here, zoom out, and now you're gonna see that these icons are way too big. So first of all, we're gonna align them properly. So just grab all of them and then click on this tool again, so they will be aligned at the same height. Now, if one of those icons is too big, you can of course also with shift resize them, but for now this is good. We want to make them white, so select all of them, and this is the nice thing about SVG icons. You can change the color inside of Adobe XD. So make them white over here and click outside of it. By the way, if you want to get icon files, you can use a website like flaticon.com, and on website like this you can get icons, a lot of them for free. As you can see, I've downloaded all of these icons for a client project, and I can just use that on the website. So that's pretty nice. So I'm gonna go back to my Adobe XD, grab all of them, and make them really small. So resize them, but don't forget to press shift while you resize them. make them really small, zoom in, drag them into your artboard, zoom in again. Make sure that the right one is aligned like this. And now I want to have a lot more space between those items, and Adobe also has a nice tool for this. So if you just drag one of those items to the left, and you by the way hold shift, so it will be just on one straight line, and don't forget to first release your mouse and then the shift. And then if you select all of them, so I've now selected only the YouTube one, so I'm gonna also select with shift the Instagram one and the Snapchat one. And if I click on this icon, it's gonna give it the same space between those icons. So I'm gonna click on it, and as you can see, now it has the same spacing between all of those icons. I think this is a little bit too much, so I'm gonna make it a little bit less spacing, something like this. I'm gonna select all of them again, click this icon again, and now we are done. Alright, so for now I'm gonna just uncheck the grid option for now. I'm gonna close the layers, and we forgot one thing, and that is the shadow on top over here, because you can't really see this logo very well. So if you go back to my final design, you can see that there's a nice shadow over here. Because let me turn it off, you can see the difference. This is a super nice soft shadow. I will show you how to create that. So we're gonna go back, I'm gonna grab the rectangle tool, make a big rectangle, something like this. First, let's adjust some settings. Uncheck the border, go to color, click on solid color and click on linear gradients. Now, what you wanna do, the top one needs to be 100% black, and the bottom one also needs to be black, but this one has to have 0% opacity, because if you do that, then it will create a gradient, and in this case this creates an upside down shadow. So that is really nice. So now click on the selection tool again, make sure you align it in the corner, make it bigger like this. And now we need to move it to the back. So open the layers panel again and drag it under almost everything. So I'm gonna place it right above the image. And if I do this, boom, you're gonna see that the logo will be on top and the button will be on top. And this is way too intense. So what you want to do now is play with this opacity. So for example, make that 50, 55. And now if you release it, click this one away. I actually think that these one are too big, so I'm going to select both of them and make that smaller. And now we have a pretty similar design to this one, and the only thing now we have to do is of course insert this text. And this text, by the way, has a very nice shadow. Let me turn it off so you can see it. Then it starts floating a little bit, so I will also show you how to do that, and then we have the final design. So again, go to the text tool and click over here and type in travel. Click the selection tool again, make it really big. Go to your folder, and in the fonts folder, the font is called Great Wishes. So if you've already installed it, you can go to your Adobe XD and type in Great Wishes. And as you can see, we now have a super nice font inside of our design. If you want to align this one in the exact middle of your canvas, you can also use this one, and now it will be aligned in the middle. But now the text is in front of his face, so click on the background image again. It's locked, so we're gonna unlock that for a minute, drag that one down, and now lock it again. And now that looks a lot better. Last thing that we need to do is click on the text, and we're gonna add a shadow. Zoom in so you can really see what you're doing, uncheck it. And this is a very subtle shadow, but we want to make it a lot bigger. So I think I did something like 10 and maybe 30. And if you increase this one, the shadow will be lower. And if you increase this one, the shadow will be more blurry. So zoom out a little bit and we can almost not see it. It's a very soft shadow, so I want to make it a little bit more intense. Click on the shadow and increase the opacity like this. Don't make your shadows too intense because that looks cheap. And now if I uncheck it, you're gonna see that the text really starts levitating. So yeah, I think this is a pretty cool result, and if you want to learn more about Adobe XD, I'm creating a course about Adobe XD. So if you've liked this video, then you might be interested in that course. I'm gonna give everybody who watched this video a discount for the course. If you want to get that discount, there's a link in the description. Just fill in your email and I will email you when the course is out, and there will be a discount link within that email that you can use to sign up for the complete Adobe XD course. But I just hope that you really liked this basics video. If you want to get more videos like this, maybe a little bit more complicated design, just leave a comment below on what website you want me to make and I will create a tutorial about it. Thanks again, this is Living with Pixels, the channel where you're gonna learn how to design, build and sell websites. So thanks a lot for watching. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because that really helps the algorithm of this channel and that allows me to create more videos like this. So yeah, that's it. I hope to see you in the next video.